So welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy Bass the Kid. Now, two in the space of a day, pretty much, just because there was a lot to go through, and I didn't want to have some big 45-minute video which no one's gonna watch. So broke it up into two segments, just talking about the stuff that's kind of happened, not addressing any of the fights over the weekend. I haven't got around to the Ortiz and Ruiz stuff yet, because that takes place later on today, but Weekend Wrap will be out Monday morning, and then we will be moving forward with new content after that, getting ready for the big week of women's boxing ahead. But for right now, let's get into the show. So Eddie Hearn came out the other day basically saying that he wants Anthony Joshua to be active, have about 4 fights over the next year, but by the end of 2023, starting in December and obviously finishing off. He says that he wants a world tour like scenario. Now, look, I can't help but think that my tweet has been seen and not given the credit it deserves here, because in the tweet I said AJ's next 5 fights should be, first one, Otto Wallin in the US. Primarily Tyson Fury fought him over there. They know the name. It would be a good reintroduction to that part of the country and that part of the world, I should say. Secondly, then I said he should fight Zhilei Zhang in China. Now, initially, I was one of the first people, straight after the loss to Usyk, on a live with October Red Boxing. So if you don't believe me, you can check her channel. I was the one saying that he should fight Zhang next. Fight him in China, make huge amount of money over there. You've already been, facing southpaws the last couple fights, so now you've got that there. But I'll put him second on this list. But after I put that out, I saw a lot of people start saying, I'd love to see AJ versus Zhang in China, and I'm like, no one was saying that before me. But it's like, don't want to give me the credit. But it's cool, maybe I don't need the credit, because ultimately I've said a few things recently which I've heard repeated on other channels that are much bigger than mine. I guess I'll take the wins where I can get them. Zhang was second in China. Then I said he should fight Tony Yoka in the US as well, but to be honest, you could have that in the UAE or wherever. You just build that as Olympic gold medalist versus Olympic gold medalist, like just as a fight anywhere, just put that around somewhere. Then I said I would like to see him fight Efe Ajagba in Nigeria. You could do maybe the Deontay or the Joe Joyce thing, but ultimately Efe Ajagba is a born Nigerian. He may not be a name over there as such, but you bring AJ, you bring him over there with his his sort of xenophobic stance of, I don't like these non-Nigerians trying to claim my country, which is stuff that he said previously. That would be a good little fun fight. It could easily be like a stadium type fight or something over there. Even though it is all off of AJ's name, but that's the perfect foil. And then I said you finish it off with a 5th fight against Deontay Wilder in the US, and then finally you come back to the UK and you fight Dillian Whyte, in the UK, after sort of like a year, 2 years away, just so you can kind of stay away from the British public for a while, get some of that global money, and all these detractors that are really on your case and talking about how you're this and you're that. Or okay, let them see how the infrastructure works when you're not there, basically. That was my thought. So now Eddie Hearn has obviously said very similar. He'd like him to go to China to fight Zhang. He'd want him to go to America, go back to the UAE, go to Australia, possibly Nigeria as well. So basically, he said the same thing I said in the tweet, which is there from sort of 2 weeks ago. I might even, just insert it into here just so you guys can see the date it was written as well. But overall, I think that idea is a smart idea, quite frankly, and I wouldn't mind it, to be totally honest with you. So Frank Warren come out and basically said that AJ is no longer the A side. He said he's got some good domestic fights that he can have, Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce, etc., but he won't be the A side in those. He's gonna have to acquiesce to their demands. Frank Warren's delusional. Basically, long and short, he's delusional. Neither of those guys have touched anywhere near the kind of money that AJ's touched. His last fight alone, he's probably earned twice both. No, not even twice. I would say he's probably earned about 4 times what they both earned combined in their careers thus far in his last fight. And you think that he's not going to be the A-side to them? He's still the commercial juggernaut. He's still the financial draw. He's still the person that those fights are going to be based and bought off of. Because let's be honest, as much as Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois are good, good fighters, they're still not public darlings. They're still not the marketing guy's dream and nightmare. They're not the ones sponsored by Under Armour and Google and Lucozade. It's not anywhere close in terms of their market value. So just because Joe Joyce at this point is undefeated and Dubois holds a regular version of the WBA title, the baby belt as most of us will know it, or as Devin Haney and Ring IQ call it, the Mickey Mouse belt, there is still absolutely no way that either of them, both of them put together, still aren't the A-side to Anthony Joshua. It's ludicrous, but it's obviously, Frank Warren doing what he needs to do, trying to build their profiles by spreading some falsities. Yeah, it is what it is, whatever. Sticking on the Anthony Joshua topic real briefly, Robert Garcia has basically said that if he's going to continue working with AJ, then AJ needs to come to the US. He needs to come to California and train with him, sort of 8 to 10 weeks out from a fight. He can get him ready, get him in the right mindset. He needs to be around other champions. He needs to be around other people. And I think that's, to be honest, I think that's the right way to go about it, because he needs, number one, I said before, he needs to be outside of his comfort zone. Loughborough and Sheffield, they're not the right environments. Training with amateurs and being the number one guy in the scenario is never going to get the best out of you. Like, if you go to Garcia's gym, there's, Bam Rodriguez and many others are over there. Mikey Garcia's still even over there, like, just ticking over, not trying to fight, but you could probably just be in the gym and have a mindset, what is he, like a 3 or 4 weight world champion? Like, you got Bam, like, the youngest current world champion out there, jumped up 2 weight classes. All of these things, like, these are the people you need around you. Like, bring other killers around you, or guys that aren't going to be overawed by who you are and say, well, look, you might have done this, but we've done that. Like, we're going to push you. We're going to make you have to work and prove your place in this gym. You can bring in the sparring partners that now will look to take your head off. Like, whatever it needs to be, you need to be in an environment where iron sharpens iron. I don't think that's the case at Loughborough, quite frankly. So the only bad thing about getting to LA is it's 8 hours behind the UK time. So that whole jet lag thing might be a madness if you're looking to fight in the UK. But that's where my suggestion of fighting in America for a little bit, or just fighting in different time zones, maybe closer to that time zone for the time being. Have your next fight against Wallin in LA or in New York, because there's only 3 hours between those two. That jet lag's not going to be too bad. Like, and then maybe, you move from there to another time zone closer. And then when you finally do come back to the UK, you do like maybe 6 weeks out there, and then you come back 3 weeks early, tell him, look, well, I need you here for the last 3 weeks of camp. So 1 week I can just readjust to this climate, tailor off on the week before, and then, media week and everything, I'm fresh back in my own skin, if that's how it's got to be. But either way, I definitely agree with Robert Garcia. He doesn't need to be in the UK training, especially in his comforts. And if he wants to be a creature of habit and a creature of comfort, he's going to keep coming up short against the very best, because a lot of them train in uncomfortable and unfamiliar environments. That's how you keep yourself sharp. So I think I might end this one off with Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. Now, Usyk was asked the other day, is there any chance he'll fight Tyson Fury in December? And he said no. I'm trying to recover from some old injuries that I have, plus I've been in a camp basically for the last 6 months away from my family. So now I just want to go back and spend time with my family, you know, over Christmas or whatever. You know, boxing can wait for a little bit, but you know, we can definitely do that fight in the new year. So Tyson Fury then pipes up, basically says, oh, like you've come out and you've given it the big one. Now all of a sudden, you know, you don't want to fight in December, talking about you got injuries, you had a sparring session, like there was nothing, there's no reason for you to not, you know, come out and see me now, blah, blah, blah. Now, this to his public might, yeah, Usyk doesn't really want it, just calling his name for clout. Yet, we all heard Bob Arum this week, I think at the start of this week, basically say there's no chance that fight would happen in December anyway. It's most likely to happen sometime between like February and April if it was going to happen, and that's obviously where they would need the time to find, you know, site fee money and whatever. So it's Tyson Fury obviously trying to spin narrative, as he always does, tries to, you know, sort of make everything about him, which, okay, on this occasion he does have a right to, because this is about him. This is about him and Usyk. I guess he's no longer retired again, for whatever that's worth. But Usyk also basically said, that, you know, someone asked him, you know, does what Tyson say like get to you or whatever? He's like, no, I mean, he talks a lot. That's what he likes to do, but he compared him basically to a crow having an argument with, I think it was a wolf. He basically said, yeah, the crows can chirp as much as it wants from the treetops above, but you know, we all know that if the crow was right next to the wolf, he would be very silent. And that just tells me that Usyk is that guy. Like, he really, none of this stuff bothers him. And I think when it comes to the time that they have any kind of press conference, the fact that Tyson can't really get in his head, I think is gonna be something that bothers Tyson quite a bit. Because remember, he doesn't really, he speaks English, he understands it to a degree, but he's not fluent. So a lot of the jibes and stuff that he says, he probably won't even understand that. Huh? What's that? I don't really get what you're saying. But then Usyk has like the body language stuff and like the other little small things that he does, which might unsettle somebody. So I'm really looking forward to that when it kicks off. Like, Hasim Rahman came out, I think it was yesterday or the day before, basically saying like, essentially Usyk does everything better than Tyson Fury. The only thing Tyson Fury has over him is size. That's literally it. Like, that, you know, Tyson looks coordinated against big lumbering heavyweights, but against someone like Usyk, he doesn't have a better jab, he doesn't have better movement, he doesn't have better punch placement, he doesn't have better speed and better coordination. Like, Usyk just has everything over him. So ultimately it comes down to Tyson being able to use his size correctly to offset this fight. And I'm inclined to agree with Rahman on this one. Now, call me biased if you want, but looking at the two of them, I'm going to say this, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate, but I don't care. I've always said this, and I've got evidence, I've got people that can vouch for this. I've never really thought Tyson Fury was that good. I've always felt that Tyson Fury, essentially, he picks the right fights for him to make himself look better than he is. I've backed against him on a few occasions where I have been very wrong, so I will, you know, I'll hold my hands up to that. And maybe it's a case of you look at him, you don't really think he's that great, but when you're in the ring, it's a different story. But even the stuff that he does in the ring, like, I've never thought it's that great. I've thought like people just don't really go for it, or they get overawed. But yeah, I mean, look, anyone's beatable, and he's not this monster of the division. I just think he hasn't fought the majority of the guys that you would need to fight to prove. You know, like if you go back to, the 60s, 70s, you see the level of competition that someone like Ali was fighting, or you go more to the 80s, like with Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard, or even, you know, Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns. Like, these guys, Julian Jackson, like, they fought killer after killer after killer to prove that they were the best. Yeah, all of them took losses along the journey, but they rebuilt, they came back, a lot of them beat the person that beat them. Like, it just, you go through the best of the best in the division, you clear it out and you prove your dominance. He's not done that. 3 fights against Deontay Wilder mean absolutely nothing, because I haven't rated Wilder technically since he had the first Deverne fight, if I'm totally honest. And again, I've got receipts for all of this, so this isn't just fair weather and recency bias or anything. Like, I've legit said this stuff for years. So beating Wilder 3 times, who's got nothing but this, a big right hander. He does, he lands it. I'll give him that, like, no problem. But that doesn't make you the best. Like, 1 victory against Klitschko, as good as it was at the time, there was no rematch. And then who else is there? Like, Derek Chisora's never been a world beater. Like, Christian Hammer, no. Okay, I'll give you Dillian Whyte, but that was a shit show. The whole thing was a shit show. I did think Dillian would beat him. Maybe that was my heart overall in my head slightly. But I think, look, ultimately there's just a lot more work to me that needed to be done to be able to cement some legacy or to be called the GOAT or whatever. And yeah, a victory against Usyk, I'll give you that. Like, I'm not going to use the look how much smaller he was and now, because he's a heavyweight now. He's come to this division and he wants to smoke. So if you beat him, then I'll still, I will give you all due credit for that. But then I would still say the resume still needs a couple more people on it. You beat Joshua after that, cool, I won't say anything. 4 top level wins, or 3, I guess, because I don't count Wilder. But anyway, yeah, cool, I'll give you that. But like I said, when you compare that to like the Ali's and that with, Ken Norton, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, like, all of these guys, Ernie Shavers, and the like, I can't even bother to go through the resume. Like, everyone knows, just the back to back, to back. So yeah, that's what I really feel like, my heavyweight champ should be doing. And in this current era, the only person who was coming somewhat close to that was Anthony Joshua. Wasn't the greatest of opponents, but they were all like, within top 10 rankings, like back to back for at least the last 4 years. So yeah, but basically, long story short, I agree with Usyk in it. that's the long and short of it. I agree with Usyk. Like, it's a lot of talk, but I don't really think the talk means much at this point, and I don't think it's going to affect him. So Tyson just better sharpen up on the actual boxing skills, because that's the only way to get it done. The mind games ain't really gonna play much of a factor in this one. Alright guys, I'm gonna leave it here. Yeah, I think I got through quite a bit. There was quite a bit that happened over the week. Let me know your comments down below, and as always, please like and subscribe. For right now though, Hardcore Casual out.